Okay, time is up. Now, if I were in a classroom right now, I might choose to go back here really quickly and change the share to anyone with the link can view. Go back to that so nobody is making changes on other people's. But I'm not going to do that because I'm going to let you keep moving forward. The other piece is, if I ever think that a student, of course, like I said, I made a copy of this, but if I ever thought someone that was collaborating on this deleted something that I didn't want deleted, then you can go into, there it is, File, see Revision History, and that will let me see who made changes where, and I can revert back to any previous version. So I never really worried about somebody deleting something they shouldn't delete. I just make that other copy so that I've got a really clean copy and don't have to go backwards, and I don't have to get rid of the hard work that you put into this too. So let's take a look. When we're talking about copyright information, we've got 3 columns up here: copyrighted items, fair use items, and public domain. Copyrighted items, you had the toughest one. You had lots and lots of information. Luckily, there were 2 of you working together. So tell us about copyright and copyrighted items.
Okay, so copyrights, we found they are automatically assumed. That you don't, it's not like a patent where you have to apply for the patent and prove that it was original. That it's automatically assumed that if you made it, then you have the rights to protect it.
Awesome.
And it covers pretty much everything that we think of: movies and music and books and computer software and photos and video games and everything that's been like written down and recorded.
So media.
Yes.
All right, so copyright covers media. Now you mentioned patent in there. Does anybody know the difference between a copyright and a patent?
Copyright is over media, a patent is over an idea.
Yes, great job. Ideas cannot be copyrighted. They're ideas, they're out there hanging out. But if you have an idea and you are trying to make it happen and you don't want someone else to steal that idea, you can patent that idea. So that is the difference. Nice job, thank you. Okay, keep going.
And the only other thing we got to, we're messing with our technology, is kind of covering what is not protected. And Bruce came up with a really great example. Would be something like a folk tale, where it's just kind of passed along, and everyone has the right to change it and adjust it and retell it. Or like if you make up a song in the shower, like that's not copyrighted. You just you thought of it, and it hasn't been recorded anywhere.
Right. Once you do record it, so it's an idea that still,
right.
Once you do record it, it could be copyrighted. You could copyright it, or you could choose to use Creative Commons licensing instead, but we'll get there. Great examples too, that folktale one especially. Now Bruce, what I really like about that is that one is one that has, folktales generally have been around a while. And sometimes it's like that telephone game where they change all along the way.
Generations sometimes, yeah.
Yes, yeah, which is a great example actually of some of what we're talking about with Creative Commons too, that you can make some changes on other people's media without violating their rights, and then also add your own mark to it, and then give some rights to yourself. Yeah, so that's a great example. What were the questions that you did not get to?
We did not get to what does it mean to license a copyright and who owns the copyright.
Okay. So who owns the copyright? We'll just skip right to that one. The person that owns the copyright is the person that created that work. Yeah, yeah. If you want to skip down, if you want to scroll down and see if you can find out about licensing copyright, if we have time, we'll come back to that. But we'll keep going. Did you find the answer? Fantastic. All right. So what is the answer to that?
Well, verbatim, this website says licensing is when a copyright owner gives permission for someone else to do something normally restricted by copyright law. So for example, the creator of a song may license a song to an advertising agency, allowing the ad company to use part of her song in a television commercial in exchange for compensation. So it would be allowing other people to use your materials and your media.
Well done, and I like that you said verbatim to start with, giving that credit right at the start. That it was from. So yeah, you can allow someone else to use your copyrighted material, but if you don't get that permission, you're not allowed to use copyrighted material longer than a certain amount. So, which brings you into fair use. So who had fair use?
We had fair use.
You had fair use. Okay, tell us about fair use, please.
Okay, so fair use is you are allowed to, it allows people to use copyrighted material, but for a limited time. And that means parts of it or holes or whatnot. And an example we found, there's tons like search engines But an example we found was Family Guy. They can use a character, create an episode that's I never say it right, parody. So it's a limited use of the copyrighted material. So it is kind of using it, but using it fairly, and I quoted up there exactly verbatim the guarantee of breathing space for new expression within the confines of the copyright law. So it gives, by law, it gives the Supreme Court saying that it's giving people the ability to still use material just under restriction.
Yes, certain restrictions, absolutely. Nicely done. John, you have anything to add?
Yeah, like it's in the hopes that it'll be contributing to the growth of science education and the arts.
Good.
However, with Family Guy example, it doesn't seem to fit those criteria.
Well, that could be the arts. That could be, well, it could be science too. You never know.
Yeah.
But I like what you said too, and the piece of it there too, when it comes to fair use, is that you're sharing or you're using that and reusing it in the spirit that it was intended. So you can create a parody, but you're not taking someone else's work and making, a parody is kind of making a mockery of things, but you're still using the spirit of what's behind it, the spirit of the character, the spirit of the music. You're keeping that spirit intact. For education, we have a lot more ability to use copyrighted materials that are fair use because we're using it for educational purposes. We can use like 30-second snippets of songs without any worries as long as we're not using it for commercial use. So some cool things, but I really love the parody example because that's the type of stuff that our students are going to want to do.
Is there a clear limit on like how much time or like how you can use it and it's still considered fair use?
Yes,
Okay.
and actually, if you go back into, so this is
Yeah,
now
that's
your
right.
resource. So the same group that created the copyrighted items list that you looked at, they have an entire web page devoted to teaching about copyright. And so they have a page just like that about fair use, and you can go and see that. But you can also Google it and find the restrictions. Depending if you're using it for commercial use, that's much more restricted. If you're using it for educational use, there's a lot more freedom there. It's a great question. Thanks. All right, and public domain.
Public domain works are unrestricted. There's no fee for anyone to use them, and you can access them as many times and as often and as long as you want.
Okay. And how does well, you know what? I'll let you go ahead and share the rest of your information up there.
What are the categories? There are 3 categories. Works that automatically enter, like your name is a public domain thing, a government work, a fact, etc. Ideas, however, that one confuses me because ideas can be patented.
Yes.
So while they're public domain, I'm not sure. Works can be assigned to the public domain by their creator, or once they expire, once the copyright expires, which is different in the U.S. versus other countries.
Yes.
Now that's what my question is, how do they expire?
Expiration is based, I believe, in other countries based off the death of the creator, and in our country it's based on
I think it's
the origination of the work plus so many years.
I think it's about 70 years or something.
Yeah, I
like
think that's actually a European one. Like Happy Birthday is a big one, where in Europe that's to expire, I believe, in 2016, but in the United States, Happy Birthday does not expire until 2030.
Did you know that you're not supposed to sing Happy Birthday in
For
any
profit.
place that you're making profit?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's why restaurants have their own Happy Birthday songs.
Interesting.
Because
So
they
when it's
can't
like-
use that, it's copyrighted
Can you
information.
copyright it?
No, you cannot. Once the copyright expires for that particular case, that's a work that will expire based on its origination date or the date of the creator. Then it becomes public domain.
Okay, so we'll still be able to, so after that time period, then we're allowed to sing Happy Birthday because there's no copyright?
profit.
For
For
profit.
Okay.
Or in a place that is making, you don't have to pay to have Happy Birthday sung at a restaurant, right? But the restaurant is a place that's for profit, and they're trying to create that environment
Interesting.
for profit, so they can't sing Happy Birthday,
Yeah,
for
but-
example.
So
That's
does
the
it-
Disney rumor.
Yeah, that's all Disney.
Because Disney doesn't technically own it. They paid the copyright ones to actually use it in their Epcot Center presentation thing.
But what's
Actually,
the copyright?
I believe Warner actually owns it now. They pull a lot of money for owning it.
That's so
So generally, the person that created the item has the copyright. We learned that from this group right here. But you can purchase the copyright too.
And so what are those are the 3 categories. And then when does it enter the public domain? When the copyright expires, or by someone dedicating that work to the Creative Commons.
Yeah, so it's into the public domain, and that's where Creative Commons comes in. So if your students are using material that's copyrighted, there are specific copyright protocols depending on how you want them to, what format you want them to put that copyright information in. But generally for our students, we're just looking to make sure that they have given attribution somehow, shown the author, shown the source, and given dates of acquisition, things like that, or dates when they found that information. Creative Commons, though, it comes from this public domain. You can choose to give up your copyright. Like this group said, as soon as you create an item, then it's copyrighted by default. You can give that copyright up in the hopes that you'll make the world better, in the hopes that someone else will take your stuff and use it. Because how cool is it when you post something up on, when you post a video on YouTube and then you see that somebody else took that and added some things to it, or
When you make pie.
yes, my favorite example. How many of you have gotten to see the 3D printer? John, have you seen this?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna pass a few things around. So this is a chunk of cheese. You're welcome. Don't eat it. This is the United States. This right here is a little bitty pie. Little bitty pie. So I used to teach math, and now I get to play with applied math through technology. And I took a pie symbol, found it, and created this three-dimensional pie, and put the first, what was it? And you guys found it. It was like the first 6 digits of pi across the top, and extruded it, and then printed it out for the math teacher at my school, and then uploaded it to a site called Thingiverse, which is where all these 3D printed items are stored, so that you can download those. And automatically on Thingiverse, when people share their files, their media to print on 3D, you can choose to copyright that information, or you can choose to have a Creative Commons license there. And almost everyone on Thingiverse says that you can remix their items. So we're going to talk about how you can use Creative Commons very shortly. But I came in a few weeks ago, and the crew here in the Exploratorium had printed off my pie.
And we had no idea. We just wanted a math thing, and we found it on Thingiverse and printed it, and Lisa came in and was like, I made that.
Right across the street. But you can get stuff from anywhere, from people all over the world. And those of us that are creating those things and uploading them want other people to print them. I can't wait to see it. I said, well, why didn't you say that you printed it? Because it doesn't have a big number. You know, you could say on here that you've printed it or that you've remixed it, and then you give attribution. So if you were to change that, if you were to add some more digits or put your math teacher's name on there, you could re-upload it, and then you give attribution to me, as well as create a Creative Commons license for yourself. So it kind of perpetuates this creative nature and creation shared, learning building on itself.
May I ask a question?
Yes, please.
So this is going back to the Google PowerPoint, I know it's kind of off topic. Now, when you can share it, it's now shared only to people that have a link. Are we able to save it onto our own Google Drive then?
Yes. So you'll go to File, make a copy,
Perfect, thank you.
and be able to have that, absolutely. So Creative Commons, we just talked about copyright. Creative Commons shares a lot of the same attributions of copyright. In fact, it is a branch off of copyright, but it is a little different. It was created in a very different way. Copyright is there so that people can protect their works. Creative Commons is now there so that people can share their work and have other people change their work. So it's kind of depending on which version you choose, it's kind of the opposite of copyright. I would like someone to take my creation and make changes to it and see what they do with it. But at the same time, I could also use Creative Commons to say, you can use this in your materials, but you can't change it. Or I can say, you can use this, you can even change it, but you can't make money off it. So there are several different copyrights, and we are going to see some tools about that, as well as the process for getting a Creative Commons license, because these are things that you could do with your students as well.